Just connecting. Yep. Good.
We're good? All right, well, thank you. Welcome, Stacey. Thank you for joining us here on the Her platform. So we just wanted to take this as an opportunity to let the people who are in the Her platform know what the Centre for Women does and how the involvement between the two organisations are. So I might just throw straight over to you to give us a bit of an overview of the history of the Centre for Women.
Great, thank you. Thanks for having me on this morning. The Centre for Women & Co was pretty much established out of a merger between the regional domestic and family violence service called Waves, and they provided DV services across Redlands and all of Logan. And then the Women's Health Service was Logan Women's Health and Wellbeing Service, and they provided women's health, counselling and community education programs all across Logan. And now we deliver those programs across Redlands as well. And about 18 months ago, we decided that we would be stronger together. And this was then born, the Centre for Women & Co. And the two services merged into one. And we now deliver women's health and domestic and family violence services across all of Logan and Redlands, out to the islands and right down to Bursdale near the Scenic Rim. And all of the different, do you want me to go through the different programs that we offer?
Yeah, I think that would be great. And maybe give us an idea of how many people we help you.
Great. So over a 12-month period, we on average support about 20,000 women. And there's probably about 39,000 hours of work across the entire team in 1 year. So it is a lot. We have I have the most incredible team, and so blessed, pinch myself every day. And there's about 47 of us across the two regions. And the team provides services, so community education, and that is around early intervention prevention programs and workshops. And we have morning teas and different things for women to connect into. Because we know isolation is a pretty, scary thing for a lot of people, and that's definitely something that we are experiencing now on a global level because of COVID-19. So community education is really important, and we have 3 people across the two regions providing that. We offer children's domestic and family violence counselling. So children from as young as 2. I know that sounds really weird, like you don't normally have a counselling session for a 2-year-old. It's a lot of play therapy and so forth, but it's, based on that child's needs, and right through from 2 to 18 years of age. And we have 3 children's counsellors across the two regions as well. And they're really, really busy, and they do amazing work. So that's one area of what we provide. We have domestic and family violence counselling, and that is a more short-term, educational, quite directive, very goal-focused counselling for women who are, just exploring what's going on for their life at that period of time. They might be looking at wanting to leave a relationship, or they're trying to understand what's actually going on in that relationship. And so, it's great to have somebody who has that DV understanding and knowledge to be able to psychoeducate them on what's going on for them, and then exploring what those options are and so forth. So that's our domestic and family violence counselling. And we have a number of people across both regions to provide that service. And those sessions can be a one-off session, they could be multiple sessions, and normally run for about 6 months to 12 months in total. Mm-hmm. Then we have our women's health generalist counselling, and that is across Beenleigh, Logan and Redlands. And the women's health counselling is what I feel is a really unique service, and we are very, very lucky to provide that service. It's free. It can be as long as somebody needs that support. It's really holistic support that we're providing in that space. It can be on relationships, grief and loss. We do see a lot of women coming through with grief and loss accessing that service. It can be around relationship building with your children. Depression, anxiety is probably our biggest, presenting referrals coming in. And yeah, and like the difference between domestic and family violence counselling is obviously DV counselling is specific to DV, whereas our women's health and wellbeing counselling, it can be on anything. You know, we're happy to talk to women about absolutely anything, their pets, their children, and that's the beauty and uniqueness of that service, because we know that women experience so many different things, and it's so great to be able to provide that mental health support for whatever they're dealing with. What else do we have? We have the Be Ready program, which is our Skilling Queenslanders for Work program, and that's helping women get back into the workforce. It runs for 5 weeks, 4 days a week for 5 weeks, and women who complete that program come out with a Certificate 1 in foundational skills. But not only do they come out with that skill, they come out with a newfound sense of understanding who they are and what they want to do in their life, and a really clear plan on, you know, how to move forward, how to engage with employees, and we've had incredible you know, outcomes for women. Our KPIs are off the charts for women who are experiencing complex things. It's not just, you know, it's just, yeah, it's really complex what some of the women are experiencing. So to be able to get into employment through that program is pretty special. We have court support. So we provide women and men with court support in the Cleveland and Wynnum courthouses, specifically on DV issues. And we have Keith, who provides the men with support whilst they're going through that court process. And we have Lauren, who provides the women with that court support. And they're there every week. We actually have them off-site at the moment, but that's the court support. And they will sit with the woman who is in the courtroom with them. They will advocate to the magistrate for them. They can help them access the safe room in the courthouse, and so forth. They're a real integral piece to court proceedings, and we're lucky that we have that available. We run a men's change behaviour program, and that is run over in Cleveland. And we have 2 programs a week that run. So one in the afternoon, on a Wednesday afternoon, and one on a Wednesday evening, because a lot of men are working and need to have access to that program. And it's about 99% of those men accessing that program are mandatory. It's mandatory for them to complete that program. So
you mean as in court ordered?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, they're absolutely flat out in that space. And obviously COVID-19 is really providing a lot of challenges to support those men through that program, because it's one of the only ways that we can hold men accountable through that program. So we have capacity to see about 20 men per program. So that's 40 men per program, and it's 80 men over 1 year. It's not a lot. It is a drop in the ocean, and we're really advocating hard to government that needs to change. We know that probation and parole have about 600 men on their books, and about 500 of them are DV related. So, you know, out of 500 men across Redlands in 1 year, we can only support 80 of them. So it's a significant gap in that service. So anyway, don't get me started on that. I'll get back to the different programs. So men's program.
Because I do think the men's program is something that's really unique to what the Centre for Women offers. So do you have any stories in hand? I should have prepped you for this beforehand, but do you have any stories in hand that of some outcomes we've had from the men's support program?
Yeah, definitely. Look, there is an incredible article on ABC that ABC did an article on our program and worked with some of the program participants and their ex-partners who were willing to share their story. And, you know, that story, just in a nutshell, was that they were separated. They were having a lot of difficulty with their custody issues with their children. And, you know, he wasn't able to see them and all of that sort of stuff because of the violence. He did this program and it absolutely changed his life and her life. And now they have, you know, a much better, healthy relationship moving forward. He's able to see the children once a fortnight. Like, it's what it is for. But at the same time, you need those people who are doing that program to really invest in it and want to have that change. The program that we run has been developed by Ken McMasters. He is renowned in the sector for his programs, and it's very much around understanding yourself and why you react to different things, and how that has happened, and the trauma that those men might have experienced. And there's a lot of compassion behind that program, and but really holding people to account on their behaviour. So it's fantastic, and some really good outcomes from that. But it's also an incredibly difficult space to work in. So yeah, I've got and the team are just amazing. So there's a male and female facilitator. You always have to have a male and female facilitator. The female in that space is the woman's voice, and really make sure that is being heard throughout those conversations, and respected as well. So yeah, it's good.
Wow.
So the men's program, yeah, core support. So we have our crisis response team. So our crisis response team is located in Logan Central and over at the Redlands in our Cleveland office. These guys are the front line to trauma and violence. They will see women coming through that door that have recently been strangled or abused, and they are there to support them through that immediate crisis. And that's whether or not they need to get them into an MRI for the strangulation, or immediately to emergency department. They'll work with a range of different services to provide those women with support. They also support women in accessing refuge, which is quite difficult and can take some time in accessing refuge, because there is a shortage across Australia, and it is a lot for a woman to make that decision to go into refuge. And it's not I'm going to go to refuge and I'm going to be there for a couple of days. Like, they're there for 3-6 months at a time, and I just can't fathom the thought of having to leave my home and be completely uprooted and disconnected from my community to then go into refuge. But on the other side of that, at refuge, there is a beautiful support network and a great community of women. They're ready to, catch them and help them in that journey. And our crisis response team help them through that process, getting to refuge. That we provide, taxi vouchers to get to certain places, motel, when it's really, really critical, and it's, life and death situations, which it often is. And crisis response, they're triaging what's happening, in our Redlands. Just before COVID-19 came about, we were really struggling with the increase. We'd seen 3 times the amount of clients coming through the door at Redlands. And, one afternoon we had 11 women walk in that door, and, we had women sitting on the floor. It was just outrageous. And again, we're advocating to government around this, but we're time and time again, we're hearing that there's just no more money to provide these resources, even though it's escalating at a rate that we just can't keep up with. So yeah, crisis response, they are our firefighters. I call them the firefighters of violence and trauma. They are just amazing, amazing, strong women who are hearing traumatic stories day in, day out, and helping these women get safe. So yeah, amazing work. And and that's all across the state. They're and all across Australia. There are crisis response teams everywhere. We have the high risk team and the vulnerable persons unit. So the high risk team is running out of Logan, and the vulnerable persons unit is running out of Redlands. And the difference between the two is that the high risk team is funded by the state government, and the vulnerable persons unit is not funded. It's a voluntary program that a number of services come together and case manage collectively the highest risk cases of domestic and family violence. and the high risk team do the same thing, but there is state funded positions across a number of core members within the high risk team that are funded to support women at imminent risk of death. So this is the highest of risk that we're dealing with. And, you know, I'm really, really proud of our high risk team, that we were the trial site for the high risk team, and it came out of the Not Now, Not Ever report with Quentin Bryce and Logan Beanley we were chosen as the trial site for that, and one in Cherbourg as well. And, you know, the work that we've done in that space is renowned in the sector, and we have not lost a single woman's life since that program has been in effect. So it is amazing, amazing program. And those guys are pretty, you know, they're elite in terms of their coordination, and they work with, you know, QPS, Queensland Health, probation, parole, youth justice, the court system. They have, you know, child safety. They have a number of people sitting at the table coordinating that response and making sure that those women and children and men are safe in that family unit. And in the Redlands, the VPU is exactly the same, but like I mentioned, it's not funded. So it's volunteer positions from within those different services. So, you know, YJ, youth justice, probation, parole, child safety, Queensland Police oversee that program, and the Centre for Women, we have our doors open for those meetings once a fortnight in the Redlands. But we know that we will be seeing an increase in those meetings. In the last 4 months, we have seen 3 times the cases of high risk cases in the Redlands. So around September, October last year, we were case managing about 5 to 6 high risk cases. In February, March this year, it's jumped to between 11 and 15 cases every meeting. So it's really concerning. And like I said, we've been advocating to the department about that. And it's just absolutely critical work, and it's saving people's lives. We just need further investment and support to back that so we can do more of it. So that's the high risk team and vulnerable persons unit, which is, yeah, amazing work. What else am I missing? Children's counselling. Oh, we have integrated service response. So across Logan and Redlands, it's called the ISR. We have one in Logan and one in Redlands, and it's the integrated service response. Another initiative that was born out of the Not Now, Not Ever report and findings. And what that essentially is a bit of a coordinated approach to having a community response to domestic and family violence. The Centre for Women are the lead agency across the Redlands and Logan for our ISRs, and we meet monthly in Logan and bi-monthly in Redlands. And it's bringing together all of those DV services and services that even, you know, have anything to do with domestic and family violence are invited to come to that space, and we unpack different systematic issues that we're facing and try and work out how we can actually come together and provide a better response for women and the community. So that's a really important piece, because it's stopping the silos of services just working on their own and really bringing together a range of services to make sure that we can meet the needs of the community. So that's that bit. And I wish I had my list of all my services, sorry, but I'm pretty sure that's a lot of it. And then obviously the beautiful social enterprise, Her Platform.
It's certainly a comprehensive, there's an incredible amount of services being offered there.
Yeah, yes. I'm just going to double check, because I really don't want to miss anything. So 2 seconds, and
while you're looking that up, maybe we can, I'll just ask a question so you can start formulating it in your head too. So that, obviously, you know, the services are generally offered face-to-face, and that's now impossible with COVID-19. So what's changed to the service delivery for the Centre for Women to be able to help these people that potentially are increasing situations right now.
Yeah. Well, I just found a couple of the things that I did miss. One of them was our Local Link project, which is a partnership that we have with the Primary Health Network. And we have a worker in the Redlands working specifically and quite intimately with GPs around supporting GPs to recognise and respond appropriately to women who may come into the GP clinic and disclose domestic and family violence. We know that that may be one of the safest spaces for women to actually disclose that information. And so we're working really closely with GPs in this project, a piloted project around psychoeducation, really in-depth education around strangulation, and hoping that that will be rolled out across the state. And we were just about to start that project in Logan, and then COVID-19 came into effect and we've had to pause that. Obviously GP clinics aren't really safe for our staff to go into at the moment, but that's a really special piece of work, and we are very excited that the Centre for Women were chosen to be that pilot project. And we've had the most amazing outcomes already for some women and GPs to be able to connect in with our Local Link worker and get that critical support to women at that real critical time. Because when somebody is strangled, the first 24 hours are the most critical, and you need to get them to emergency to get these specific scans done and make sure that they're okay. So it's a lot of, it's just incredible work, and we couldn't be more proud to have that project that we're heading up with Primary Health Network. And I'll come back to that question
Sure.
that you just asked, Tasha. And the other one that we have is the Women's Advocate. So Finn is our Women's Advocate. She's a lone worker, but she works with the Redlands team, and she's a part of the men's program. So women whose partners are going through the program, ex-partners or partners, are contacted by Finn privately, and obviously, being really sensitive to what they're experiencing. But Finn contacts them and talks with them around, what they're experiencing. Is there an improvement, and how is the program going for them, and so forth. So that's a really important piece, a part of the men's program that we offer, that Women's Advocate. And yeah, that was pretty much it. And then obviously we have our Centre for Women operations team, that's our finance and HR and my role, and the marketing and comms team, sort of sit in that space as well. So that makes up the big team that we have. And back to your question around the impact of COVID-19 and what that's had on the Centre for Women, it's terrible. Like, I want to swear right now. And but we started planning pretty early on. It felt really strange to be preparing for that when it sort of hadn't really unfolded to the extent that it had. But I am so glad that we did, because we were able to stage, roll out a bit of a stage process in transitioning people off site. And, that was, at that time, we were thinking, okay, well, we're going to have people on the ground all the time. And I needed to be able to have a team of people that, would be able to replace those guys if they did become unwell and still deliver that service. So it's been an absolute logistical nightmare around trying to make sure that the team is safe and be able to still continue service delivery. But I think we did a good job, and I think the team are, doing well considering the circumstances, because it's a personal impact as well as a professional impact, and then you've got client work on top of that. And we just had an incredible team meeting this morning. It was with the full team. It was so great. It was so good seeing so many of the team's faces, and it was resounding that they are being overwhelmed with referrals coming in. Women are not cancelling their appointments, which is great, but at the same time, that is, that women are really wanting to engage. in the services and needing that support. And so, you know, it's been a lot for the team, and everybody from this week, everybody is at home, working from home. And we've had some people that have been working from home for 3 weeks, some for 2, some for 1, some for a couple of days. So everyone's at different stages in how they're feeling. And, you know, so there's all of that as well, because, you know, their mental health and well-being is my absolute priority. And we need to make sure that they're okay, so then they can continue providing these critical services to women and children and the families and so forth. So yeah, it's been a lot.
Absolutely. So maybe you can give us a bit of an overview, Stacey, on how the Her platform supports the centre.
Yeah. So the Her platform, you know, it's pivoted a lot. We started it when we were only Logan Women's Health and Wellbeing Centre, and we really recognised that we can't be wholly and solely reliable on funding, and we don't want to be. We want to have some flexibility around where we put money, because we know we very much work on what women want and what they need, not what we're dictated, where we have to sort of, you know, use that money. And whilst we have some flexibility with that, there is still restrictions. So to be able to access some funds where we can, you know, do whatever we need these women, you know, whatever the women are saying that they need, we want to be able to address that. And so that was sort of where it came from. And it was called something different, and we thought that was going to be this, and then it didn't. And it's just, you know, it's constantly evolving and changing with the times. And it's very much around raising funds to support women experiencing domestic and family violence and mental health issues. And, you know, we've got the online platform, which is, you know, just starting to get legs. And I wrote a bit of an article, not an article, but a post on my LinkedIn profile. And I described it, for me, when I sort of thought about Her platform at this particular time, I felt like, you know, she's just been waiting in the wings for this period of time, and she, you know, she's ready to go. And the whole, you know, the whole premise of why we developed Her platform was because we wanted to reach more women, no matter where they were, and reduce that isolation, because we know how much that impacts women, whether it's mental health, whether it is, you know, that you're experiencing a DV situation. Isolation is just one of the worst things that women can experience. So how could we reach them? And then how can we, you know, if we were generating income from that, obviously it's just around getting, you know, going straight back into women. And that's I guess that in a nutshell. And yeah, excellent. And it's doing really well.
Yeah, it's certainly building. So I guess that's a really good message for any of the people that are watching the video that have joined the Her platform, that it's we hope obviously that it's giving people that connection, and people are getting some really good value out of it, but also to know that it's the feel good factor of the fact that you're paying for a membership helps fund all these services that's just in depth about. So
yeah, I guess, you know, some of the practical things that we use that money for, when we give back into the Centre for Women from Her platform, the practical things that women need when they're escaping a relationship and needing to be safe is food and mobile phones. So we have access to some mobile phones. We're limited on how many mobile phones the federal government fund each service. So once we run out of those allocated mobile phones, we then need to use our own funds to be able to purchase those phones. And so, you know, we go down to, you know, Kmart or the post office and stuff like that, and buy, you know, cheaper mobile phones for women, because that's one of the first things that perpetrators abuse, is that, you know, they take away that right to connect with anybody, or right to get safe and call for help. And also, you know, they put tracking devices on phones and spyware and so forth. So, and it's very costly for us to do a sweep of a mobile phone and, you know, or a car. And that's about $400 to sweep a car for tracking devices and mobile phones. So that's when you're looking at about 7,000 women a year in from one service, you can't, that's just unaffordable for us to do that. So it's a matter of what else can we do. And one thing that I know what women are really good at is being really resourceful and thinking outside the square around what we can do, and purchasing a cheaper phone and setting that woman up with that safe phone is one of the most practical things that we can do. And then food vouchers, fuel vouchers, if they do have their own car, we provide them with fuel vouchers, and clothing and toiletries and things like that. Now, whilst we do have a good stockpile of toiletries, we do put out a call to action if we're running low on certain things. We have a small stockpile of clothing and different items, especially for children as well. Often we have mums coming in with their children and they literally have not a single thing. No clothes, no phone, no wallet, nothing. And so, we need to have those things ready for them when they come. And and that's what this money goes towards. It's, it's not our stationery, it's not team lunches, it's going directly to women and children who need it desperately. So yeah, it's pretty amazing work and very purposeful and fulfilling, but very heartbreaking at times and stuff like that. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So maybe just to finish off, do you have maybe a story you can tell us about the way that the Centre for Women has helped somebody, just to give us all a bit of a face to the
yeah, look, there are so many amazing stories that I really don't think I could pinpoint one particular story, but I think overall, women, when they get the courage to come to our service and access whatever they need, that they're just so resourceful. They take it and they use every ounce of what they've, what we can give them to improve their life. And they just want to be happy and they want to be loved. And that's, that's something that we're really proud to be able to, support a woman to achieve that. And we see that day in, day out. I'm just trying to think of a specific case study. So we had one woman who hadn't been out of the area that she lived in for a really, really long time. And she kept on walking past our service, and she got the courage one day to come in, and she wanted to see a counsellor, which we were just like, yeah, absolutely, not a problem. And she saw the counsellor, and it was pretty intense domestic and family violence that was coming out of her story when she was sharing it with the counsellor. And some of the stuff we were just like, is this even like real? And, very controlling behaviour. She wasn't allowed out of the home except for the walk and so forth. And she only really ever drank a cup of tea. She'd only have a cup of tea and a tin of tuna, and really minimal food. And her only interaction with the outside world was through gaming. And so she had like this different idea of what reality was on the outside of the world. And she engaged with our counsellor, and she started exploring what that meant for her and what she wanted. And the council suggested that she do the Be Ready program, which is our Skilling Queenslanders for Work, the Getting Back into the Workforce program. And so, she didn't have girlfriends. She had never been in a space where you were connecting face to face with somebody. It was always online. And that was one of the resounding things for her, is that she found a group of women that she felt connected to and was empowered to change her life for the better, and that she knew that she deserved better, and she deserved to be loved and treated equally and respectfully. And so she started making jewelry and selling jewelry online, and started exploring what her what her bank details were and financial what sort of finances she had. She had no access to any of it, so she started exploring that with our help, and she worked with some of our team in the DV space, and did safety planning and all of that sort of stuff, and just totally transformed her life, and just amazing. And that's right, and how I mentioned that she had not been out of her area, and she only just went for a walk. So for the first time ever in her life, and she was in her late 30s, she organised on her own, with some help with us getting her a go card, but a bus trip into South Bank. Like,
wow,
mic drop. Just amazing. Look, when I heard that story, I was, it was hard to not cry. And when you heard her journey and what she'd been through, and it's that is the most important thing that I find in this work, is how resilient women are. They're just amazing. No matter how hard they have got it, they're just so resilient, and they are, there is always that glimmer of hope. So it's pretty powerful.
Yeah, that's amazing. I really enjoy this, because even though I do work for the Centre for Women, I must admit I don't do that face-to-face stuff. I wasn't even aware of some of the stories you've just told us. So that's fantastic.
Yeah, thanks. I could talk about this all day, so you better cut me off soon.
Well, I want to see if Tammy has any questions. Do you want to ask anything, Tammy?
Oh, I had no idea that the services were ranging from what you've just described, Stacey. So thank you. I've really enjoyed hearing that. I've referred, as a clinician, I've referred patients to the Centre for Women, and it's just an amazing, much needed resource. I can't believe that there's not more funding. That makes me really angry, particularly in recent high profile cases like Hannah Clark, for example. Like, the community's just risen and said that that's not okay. So it's amazing work you're doing. I don't really have a question. I just wanted to say thank you.
Thank you.
It was really cool to hear that.
Thanks. Yeah. Lovely.
Well, thank you, Stacey. Honestly, I think this has just been fantastic. It's good to give everyone an overview of, the Her platform is doing something other than just giving us all a chance to do a bit of yoga together. It's giving us providing much needed funding for services that are more vital right now. So thank you so much.
No worries. Thank you. Excellent. Have a great day, everyone.
You too.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank